Hey, welcome. My name is Adam, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the most powerful spiritual teaching that exists. And the reason why it's so powerful is because this is the only spiritual teaching that is actually true. The only thing that exists is bare experience. All of your interpretations about bare experience, all of your ideas about life are never true. The map is not the territory. So when I have an idea about how life works, or what life is, or how to live a good life, okay, that's an idea. But that idea is never the actual truth. Because an idea is just a symbol. What is an idea? It's a concept. A concept is an abstract symbol that is a placeholder for the actual thing. So the word apple, A-P-P-L-E, that's not actually an apple. It's a placeholder. It's supposed to be a pointer to point to this part of actual reality that is like this red ball of sweet sugar that you can bite into and that tastes really good. So the word apple and even the concept of apple and the category of fruit or tasty or red, these categories, none of these are actually real. They're concepts that your mind has invented that makes speaking about reality and thinking about reality and navigating everyday life a lot easier. But the root cause of all separation, the root cause of delusion and this feeling of suffering, which just means like not being satisfied with the present moment. The root cause of this is the confusion in your mind of the map with the territory. This is very deep. It seems like this is such a silly mistake to make. This is such a childish thing. Like, Adam, I'm not so stupid to confuse the map of reality for the actual territory. I know the difference between a symbol and the actual thing. Of course I know that the word apple isn't actually an apple. But no. Not so fast. I guarantee you that your mind is deeply confused about what the difference between the map and the territory actually is. This problem goes so deep that it's almost like if you went to a restaurant and there's this restaurant has a menu and there's all these pictures of the food you want to order. The actual food that you're ordering is not the menu itself. The picture of the food is not the actual food that you're ordering, but your mind is so deeply confused about what is actually true in reality that you're basically eating the menu. Imagine you go to the restaurant and instead of asking the waiter to bring you the food, you see the pictures of the food on the menu and you actually eat it. You might say, Adam, this is preposterous. I would never do that. There's no way that I'm making that big of a blunder in my epistemology. And the epistemology is just a word which means, how do you know what's actually true? But yes, I'm sorry. You're eating the menu. And I hate to break it to you, but this is the case. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the most powerful spiritual teaching that exists. This will allow you to separate the meal from the menu. It's going to allow you to separate the map from the territory. When you understand this spiritual teaching conceptually, that doesn't really help you very much. But when you actually apply this spiritual teaching through meditation, for example, then it will completely transform your entire life. When I was like 16 years old, I discovered meditation for the first time, and I was told by my mentor to go on a Vipassana retreat. So I booked a Vipassana retreat in Toronto. I actually went to the center and I spent 10 days doing Vipassana meditation. And very simply, what that means is just you're sitting and you're labeling the present moment sensations. So for 10 days straight, for 14 hours per day, I would sit and I would label my breathing. So I would just be aware of the rising and falling sensation of my belly as I'm breathing in and out. And I would do this for 14 hours per day. And I'm not exaggerating. I would only take breaks for sleeping, eating, and using the bathroom. And I'd only sleep like 6 hours. So 12 to 14 hours a day, just sitting and labeling bare experience. And it might sound like, Adam, didn't you go crazy? Yes, I actually did go crazy. It was the most grueling, most challenging experience I've ever had in my entire life. And I didn't just do this once. In the last 6 or 7 years, I've done this over a dozen times. I've been on over a dozen meditation retreats. And in the beginning, this was like the most difficult thing ever, because I would be sitting there and, okay, I'm going to label my rising and falling. Okay, rising, falling. Rising, falling. Okay, what next? That's the thing. There is nothing next. So my mind would be bored out of my skull to the point where I would actually like plan ways in my head for how I could escape this retreat center. I would like look out the window and try to like, I was on the second floor of the building, so I would try to like imagine like if I could survive the fall, if I could just like jump out the window and just kind of like run out like a like a fugitive. This is very common. The mind does not like to sit and be present and stay connected to bare experience, because the mind is conditioned through millions of years of evolution and also just from your short lifetime to always crave after pleasurable experiences, things that entertain you, things that make you feel good, like food, sex, entertainment. And the mind is also conditioned to always run away from uncomfortable experiences like pain, boredom, restlessness, and etc. So the mind is always chasing after the next pleasurable moment. And I came face to face with this truth very directly on my meditation retreat. There was nowhere for me to run. I wasn't going to jump out the window, even though I really, really wanted to. And every single day, I would talk to my meditation teacher. Once per day, we'd have an interview where he would just ask me how my practice is going. And every day, I would tell him, I can't stop thinking. I can't stop craving entertainment. What do I do? And I will never, never forget, he always asked me the exact same question. Every single time, regardless of what I told him, if I told him, oh, my knee is hurting me, or oh, my head's hurting me, or oh, I had a vision of the Buddha, or oh, I think I had an enlightenment experience, or oh, I'm super bored, or oh, I can I please leave? Every single time he would ask me the same question. Did you label it? What does that mean? Did you label it? So this practice, this mindfulness practice that we're doing, the only thing that you have to do in this meditation practice is just label bare experience. So we label rising and falling of the belly. And when the mind distracts you, when you start thinking about something else, you just label thinking. When a sound distracts you, you label hearing. When a body sensation distracts you, you label pain or sadness. And when an emotion distracts you, you label frustrated or restless. The point of this practice is to keep the mind concentrated on the truth. And the truth is just whatever is occurring now in your sensory experience. That sentence is a very deep sentence. The truth is just what is occurring now in your sensory experience. So everything else, ideas, philosophies, ideologies about how the world works, how science works, how religion works, how politics works, how economics works, who I am, who am I, all these beliefs about who am I, what is my identity, what is my species even, what is my gender, what is my age, what is my personality, what's my story, what's my life story, all of this, these are beliefs, these are thoughts, they're stories. Stories are not actual experience. The map is not the territory. This is the most powerful spiritual teaching that exists. So my teacher, every single time, I would tell him my experience, and then he would ask me, did you label it? This is very, very common. Actually, today I was doing some meditation coaching with one of my clients, and he asked me a great question, which is, so Adam, if I experience a spiritual being while I'm meditating, or if I experience a deity of some kind, what do I do? And I told him, you label it. So let's say you're sitting there, you're sitting in meditation, you're labeling rising and falling, and all of a sudden you have a vivid experience of the crystalline body of the Buddha himself comes down to you on a cloud and sits beside you and starts speaking with you and tells you all the secrets of the universe. And he's wearing a silk scarf that's decorated with the infinite patterns of pure consciousness, and there's bliss energy running through your body. Pure bliss. What do you do in that scenario? Is that enlightenment? And the answer is no. That's not enlightenment. In that scenario, my teacher would tell me, did you label it? Bliss. So the Buddha comes down. What do you label? Seeing. The Buddha starts talking to you and shares the secrets of the universe with you. You label. Hearing. The Buddha's scarf that's made of silk, that's the most luxurious fabric. The wind blows and the scarf brushes up against your face and you melt in bliss. You label. Bliss. That is the essence of the Vipassana teaching in Buddhism, and that's also the reason why mindfulness meditation is really for me, the foundation of all spirituality. Otherwise, the problem is if you're not connected with mindfulness, which is just bare labeling of sensations. You don't always need to have labeling, but labeling is very helpful for me and for many beginners, just being connected to the bare experience, not getting lost in the story of like, oh, the Buddha came down, I'm enlightened now. Oh, hopefully this is the enlightenment moment. Is this it? Is this the thing? I've been there. That's how I was when I was 16 and I first started meditating. I was like sitting there meditating, crossing my fingers, hoping that I'd get enlightened. And every time my teacher would tell me, did you label it? Expectation, expectation. The reason why this mindfulness with labeling is the most powerful spiritual teaching that exists is because of the spiritual ego. This is a topic I wanted to make a whole separate episode about, but we'll talk about it now. The spiritual ego is just the part of the mind that craves spiritual experience. The analogy that I used in one of my past videos is the spiritual ego uses spirituality as a fancy hat to decorate itself, to make itself feel holier than thou, to make itself feel good about practicing spirituality and being proud of all of my spiritual achievements and attainments. Oh, I meditated for 2 hours today, and I have the nicest mala beads, and I have the nicest meditation cushion, the comfiest cushion, and I've meditated more than all my friends. And I've had 10 enlightenment experiences. I've been on 20 meditation retreats. The spiritual ego is the ego mind that has just co-opted spirituality and has turned it into a samsaric pattern. So samsara is just the pattern of chasing after experience and being attached to whether or not the experience you're having is good or bad. So the true Buddha, the true enlightened person, you could say, which is you're enlightened now. You don't have to wait until tomorrow to get enlightened. You are enlightened in this moment now only if you're able to see through the illusory nature of sensations. When you stop chasing after the good sensations and running away from the bad sensations, and you just stay centered and present in your wakeful moment-to-moment mindfulness when you're concentrated on the facts, which is just the sensations of now in each moment, then you're the Buddha. Congratulations. The Buddha's not some guy who lived 3,000 years ago. Allegedly, he was some guy, but that's not the point of the Buddha story. The point of the Buddha is that the Buddha is an example of your potential. The Buddha is just a reflection of your Buddha mind. You have the Buddha mind. It's you. The awake, clear mind that's able to be sharp, that's able to cut through experience, to see through the illusory nature of experience, to stop clinging to chasing pleasure, to stop clinging to pain, to stop leaning on experience. So as an ego, as a separate self that's lost in the dream of samsara or maya, the dream ego leans on experience and actually relies on experience to satisfy it. So if you're actually trying to gain satisfaction from any experience at all, food, porn, sex, video games, cigarettes, whatever it is, if you're trying to actually gain fulfillment from an experience, then you're going to suffer. Why? The reason why is because experience is always illusory. It's always temporary. That high that you get from the nicotine when you're smoking your cigarette, that high is going to go away. And then you're going to cling to it. And then you're going to crave it. And then the next day when you're not high, you're going to wish that you were high. You're not going to be present. You're not going to be grounded and concentrated on the truth of now. This is the only spiritual teaching. So the spiritual ego forgets this. The spiritual ego turns spirituality into a belief system, into a story. Even Buddhism gets turned into this. All kinds of Buddhists think that, because they worship the Buddha and because they meditate, they think that they're free from samsara. Even Buddhism gets you lost in the Buddhist dream. You could get lost in the New Age dream, the Christian dream, the scientific dream, the Hindu dream, the Muslim dream, the liberal dream, the conservative dream, the atheist dream. All of these belief systems, what are these? They're literally just bubbles of belief. Stories that you tell yourself that are self-consistent. Have you noticed that every single person who is a Buddhist or a Muslim or a Christian or an atheist or any person who believes in anything, every single worldview is self-consistent? Have you ever seen those balls of elastic bands? I don't know if you've ever seen this, but sometimes if you wrap an elastic band around itself and then you just keep adding rubber bands and you just keep adding them and adding them and adding them and adding them and adding them, it's like this ball of rubber bands and they're all wrapped onto each other. But in the center, there's nothing that they're actually wrapped around. It's just like they're just kind of wrapped onto themselves. That's exactly how your web of beliefs works. Your belief about science or about, the world is round and it's material and it's made of atoms and molecules and we're in the year 2023 and I'm a human being. I've evolved from monkeys and I have a brain and my brain is what's creating my consciousness. That whole story, if you were to step out of it, you would see that story isn't absolutely true. Because, like I said, a story is not bare experience. Now you might ask, well, Adam, are you saying the earth isn't round? Well, no, the earth is probably round. Like, conventionally speaking, if I have to speak to you conventionally, I would say, yes, the earth is round. And how do I know? Well, because I saw a picture on Google from allegedly a telescope, and there's all kinds of math that you can do that actually proves that the earth is round. You can fly in an airplane and actually see the curvature of the earth. So yeah, the earth is round. But what's funny is that you don't even have to believe that. You could be a flat earther, and there's people who genuinely believe the earth is flat. And studying conspiracy theorists and flat earthers and people who are involved in cults, that's actually one of the best ways to observe these mechanisms that I'm talking about, of how the ego mind convinces itself of its own beliefs. Because imagine being a person and actually believing the earth is flat. Like, I want you to understand, there's people out there that are convinced that the earth is flat. Like, they're convinced. They They have all the stories and maps and models to explain why the earth is flat. And it's totally self-consistent. Even though it's not grounded in actual reality. You can actually like go in a plane and actually see that, oh shit, it's not flat, it's curved. But that person can even create stories about why it appears to be curved when you're in the plane, because the mind has infinite capacity for self-justification. You could explain away anything. The mind loves to isolate itself into a bubble of its own little worldview and just completely deny experience. So this is actually something from cult psychology as well. One thing that cults do when they try to get you to buy into their belief system, what they do is they get you to deny your own experience. So if any teaching or teacher or group is ever getting you to doubt the actual like bare raw experience that you're having, like let's say you feel sad and then someone tells you, no, you don't feel sad. Or like whenever, okay, so complicated point, okay? So on one side, yes, it's good to doubt things and question things. That's good. That's just like curiosity. But there's like a malicious side of that as well, where like an actual cult leader will actually get you to like doubt what you believe to be true and then replace it with his own ideology so that he can manipulate you and so forth. So the reason why I explain this is because we're looking at the mechanics of how the ego deludes itself. So your spirituality, your spiritual idea, your belief system, that is a bubble of beliefs. It's a ball of elastic bands all wrapped onto each other. But when you actually start unraveling it and you actually take one band off at a time and you question and you actually see if these beliefs are actually grounded in experience, when you get to the center of the ball, you see that there's nothing there. When you get to the center of the elastic bands, it's just like, what's left after all the beliefs are gone? If you were to just wipe your mind clean of everything you've ever learned, what's left? It's just this. This is the truth. You don't have to doubt this. This is like, it's here. Now, exactly what it is, that's up for debate. So, the actual nature of, like what reality is this? If you want to tell a story about it, then your story can be wrong, and we can question your story, and we could tell a better story about it. But the fact that there is experience, there's no question about that. You can't disprove the existence of experience. It's here. So that's what's so great about experience and the truth and connecting to bare experience using mindfulness. What's so great about it is that it's reliable. You are always going to be here in some sort of sensory experience. Even death, if you really think about it, death is a story. Have you ever experienced death? How do you know death is even real? How do you know that there's like such thing as death? Like after you die, what do you think is going to happen? Is it just like an infinite black space, like forever? How do you know you're not going to be born again in some other body? How do you know you're like how do you know life isn't eternal? So death, we'll just talk about death now. Death is like Death is life. There's no such thing as like a time where like you stop existing. You always exist. And you exist as change. So the ego mind calls change death. Because when one moment changes to a different moment, you get sad, especially if you really liked the last moment. So if I'm smoking a cigarette and I really like the nicotine, but then next thing I know, the cigarette's done. And now there's no more cigarette. My cigarette died. It ended. It ceased to exist, just like all experiences. No single experience can exist forever. Every single experience exists as change. It's constantly in a flux. So when we do the mindfulness meditation, you actually sit and you actually watch your breath and you actually label the rising and falling. And whenever you get distracted, you stay with the bare experience and you don't get pulled away by your cravings for having a spiritual enlightenment experience, or you don't get pulled away by cravings for checking your phone or eating food or whatever, but you stay. Whenever you have a craving, you can label it. Say craving. Label it mentally to yourself. You don't have to do it out loud. What's so great about being grounded in experience is that it's always here. Like the breath, for example. The breath, it's always here. Now, sometimes if you get into a very deep meditative concentration state, sometimes the breath will actually slow down, where you won't have many breaths, where you only have like one breath per minute, for example. I've never gotten into that deep of a meditation state. If I went on a very long retreat, like maybe for a month or two, maybe I'd be able to get into that depth of concentration. But conventionally, the breath is always here. So that's why when you ground in the bare sensation of the breath, you're grounding your attention in the truth. And like they say, the truth shall set you free. That's not just a platitude. The truth shall actually set you free. Free from thinking that a temporary experience will actually satisfy me eternally. You can't lean on a temporary experience because experience is like a wisp of smoke. It's not tangible, it's not reliable, it's not solid. Experience is here now, and then it's gone in the next split second. It's gone, right? If I have a pleasurable experience of bliss, let's say I'm meditating and all of a sudden, bliss. A second later, the bliss is gone. Now what? Now you're like, fuck, where's my bliss? Where'd it go? Please come back. And that's the point of the meditation, is to have equanimous mind, to be in a state of equilibrium where I don't care what experience is appearing, because I am not reliant on experience to satisfy me. I can just stay neutral as the witness. When you gain full independence from experience, meaning that regardless of what experience happens, you can label it, be aware of it, detach from it, and just watch it arise, watch it exist, and then watch it pass away without clinging. When you can actually do that with practice on like meditation, I recommend retreats. They're great. I have a meditation course for free. You can check that out. When you practice that, now you're free. That's the true meaning of freedom. The true meaning of freedom is not like I'm free because I have all the things I want. The true meaning of freedom is I'm free because I don't rely on other things to make me happy. Because I'm aware, but in my direct experience, I actually am applying the practice that Adam is talking about. I'm not just like mentally masturbating to the videos. I'm not just like thinking and philosophizing about it like, oh, wow, that's a great philosophy. Good job, Adam. No, not that. I don't care if you agree with me or don't agree with me. Actually apply the stuff that I'm talking about. Actually sit and meditate for 20 minutes and actually label the rising and falling of the belly and actually notice your mind chasing after the next moment and then actually bring it back to the bare sensation of the rising and falling of the belly. When you actually apply the teaching, then you experience freedom. This is such a deep spiritual teaching. It goes so deep. It's so simple, right? It seems like this is the simplest thing ever. Like, experience is not the same as my interpretations of experience. That's like kind of basic, right? That sounds like kindergarten. But sometimes in life, the simplest things are the things that we need to continually come back to and remind ourselves of over and over again. The simplest thing, it's so simple. That's why Lao Tzu says the Tao doesn't sparkle like a jewel. The Tao just looks like some ordinary, rugged stone. It's not sparkly and flashy. It's just like mundane. It's ordinary. That's what makes the Tao so powerful, because it's real. It's really there. The Tao. What's the Tao? The Tao means you could just, it's the flux of experience. The Tao is, it's a word that cannot be explained because experience cannot be explained in words. So that's brings me to my next point, which is that when you want to learn something in your life, the only way to learn anything is to experience it yourself. You can't learn something just because like the teacher tells you it. That's not the same as actually doing it. This is a very deep point. This is why storytelling is so powerful. Like when you watch a movie at the movie theater, the reason why the movie can deeply affect you emotionally. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of a softie when I watch movies. I cry. Like recently I cry at like every movie that I watch just cuz I don't know why. I just cry. So the reason why the movies affect me so deeply is because the hero's journey is a framework that allows the audience to actually insert themselves into the position of the hero and actually live through the movie without them having to actually experience it themselves. So storytelling is a way where the hero can actually experience the story. So like the Bible, for example, the Bible's been passed down from generations to generations through storytelling. That's why the Bible sticks in people's heads, because when Jesus tells the parable of the mustard seed, that parable sticks in your head because it's a story. It resonates with the nature of reality. As a human being, what are you? You're actually a story. That's actually what you are. So storytelling is what you do all day. All day you tell stories to yourself, to your friends. Marketing is really just storytelling. The best marketing is just the best storytelling. When you become aware that everything is just a story that you're telling yourself, and it's not actually the actual experience itself, then you can go for the experience itself without getting lost in the stories about the experience itself. So if you want to learn something, you have to actually do it. So I was reading books about marketing, right? One of my favorite marketing books is called This is Marketing by Seth Godin. I was reading it and I was, hearing his ideas, and I really like his ideas. And actually in the book, he tells tons of stories, because that's the only way to communicate your ideas, is to tell stories in a way where people resonate. So I was reading this book, and all of the points never actually clicked with me until I actually started doing my own marketing online. Then when I'm actually doing my own marketing, now I actually gain the actual experience where I see like, oh yeah, the value of storytelling, because I actually can see in my actual real experience that when I tell a story in my video and I tell it well, then I get more positive comments. People say that the video resonated with them more. Why? Probably because I told a story, or people relate to my story. So I actually had to test the teaching in my experience, because experience is the only way to learn. On the highest level, what's God doing right now? God is actually learning through experience what it means to be God. Because it's one thing to know conceptually, like, oh yeah, I'm infinite and I could be whatever I want. Okay, sure, it's one thing to know that conceptually, but then it's another thing to actually experience yourself being able to be anything you want. That's what life is right now. It's God actually experiencing its own infinity through the limitation that it imposes upon itself, and through storytelling as well. All right, guys. Hope you liked this video. My free meditation course is out now. And by out now, I mean it's probably going to be out in like a day or two, because it's just a lot of stuff for me to glue together on the technology, but it'll be out soon. Check that out. Hope you like it. Stay tuned with me for these videos. I just wanted to leave you guys with an end note that this channel here is always going to be a work in progress, okay? I am figuring out my personal development, self-actualization journey for myself. I'm not at the top of the mountain. I'm figuring out basic things like how to eat healthy, how to make money, how to help people, how to have good relationships. A lot of that stuff, I'm a little bit further along than most people, because I've been working on it very seriously for 6-7 years. But still, that doesn't mean I'm perfect, or I'm by nowhere near done my journey. Okay, my journey is unfolding, and I'm doing my best to stay consistent with the content. Now, the content, I always want the content to be as helpful and as practically useful for you. So just keep in mind that whenever I say something, that's like my temporary hypothesis. I'm a work in progress. So everything I say is not like the final teaching. This is kind of like the theme for this week for me, and then I share it with you, and then hopefully it resonates and helps you, and then you can kind of apply some of the ideas in your own life. Maybe it helps you make more connections. But at the end of the day, it's always about applying in your own life, because when you apply something, then it becomes true for you. then it becomes real. So if you're not confident in yourself, maybe with the art that you want to share or the ideas that you want to share online, the reason why you're not confident is because you haven't experienced the ideas that you're talking about. You can't be confident if the things you're saying is just hearsay. When you actually apply the teachings, now you're making the teachings your own. Now you are actually qualified to talk about the nature of experience, let's say, because you've actually investigated it for yourself. You're actually aware, you're actually doing the practice, you're actually grounding in reality. You're not stuck in fairy tale concept land. You're taking the ideas, but then you're applying them, you're grounding them, you're implementing them. You're actually doing the meditation. You're actually eating healthy. You're actually reading the books. You're actually exercising and questioning your beliefs. You're actually working on your life purpose. You're actually putting art out there into the world that is a little bit uncomfortable for you to put out because you have to stretch your comfort zone because you're afraid of other people judging you. But there's no way around that. You have to just actually take the action. So that's what I want here in this channel. I want to help you actually take the teachings and then make them your own, not just add something to your collection of beliefs. All right, guys, so stay tuned. I have more videos coming every single week. I'm going to be doing more live streams. I'm going to be making more short form content as well on Instagram, on all platforms. I have a website that's almost ready to be launched. I have a free meditation course, and I also have coaching as well. If you're someone who wants some help with putting yourself out there with your art, actually sharing your passion with the world, the main block is your mindset. It's not really about that you don't have the technical marketing know-how. That stuff's easy, and I talk about that in my coaching, like how to sell a client, how to have an email list, how to make a product, how to make content. That's the technical details. That's easy, actually. It's pretty simple and straightforward. But the main thing that blocks you is your mindset, your lack of confidence, perfectionism, self-judgment, and mainly your lack of ability to ground yourself in direct experience. So in the Conscious Creator program, the big thrust of that is on mindset, actual meditation. We do guided meditations. I meditate with you, and we actually get you the experience of being grounded and conscious and awake and present. And then from there, we talk about sharing your gift with the world through some medium, which we help you discover what that is, and then share it in a way that you can create a service and a product that actually makes you a full-time income. It's possible. This is something that if I knew what I know today, then it would have honestly taken me 6 to 12 months to go full-time with my passion. It took me 2 or 3 years, but that's because I had to learn everything myself. But if you join the Conscious Creator program, then I'll be there walking you through everything, and it'll be a lot easier for you. So you can apply the link in the description. Check that out, and otherwise I'll see you in the next video.